Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I am your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Chris Scales, David Flowers, Tony Groves, William Gibson, and special guest Josh Stiles. Hey guys.
Good evening.
What's up?
Hey, Mike. Well, season started. We'll get into it, but let's first meet our special guest, Josh Stiles. Hey, tell us about when you started on iRacing and how did you hear about it?
I first started on iRacing at the end of 2014, and the way I heard about it was through Ian Plash. Ian and I were pretty good friends at around that time, and I saw him running, trying to do road to pro kind of races, and I looked into it more because I was really interested in sim racing, because from that point, before I got on iRacing, I was just on like Forza and Gran Turismo and things like that. And of course, that's not the same thing, but the way I heard about it was just through that. And since 2014, I've been pretty consistently active. I don't have very many wins, and I don't really do too many official races, but I still have fun with it.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, I've heard of Ian Plash. I used to race with him back in the day somewhere. That name certainly rings a bell. Well, how often are you racing these days, and what series are you running?
Really, how often I race now is maybe a few times a week, maybe 3 or 4 times a week. I'm trying to stick to ovals, but I'm also really trying to get into road racing too. Road racing is not my forte. I'm good at left turns. I'm not good at left and right turns.
All right, very good. Tell us about hardware. So what do you have for like wheels, pedals, and like do you have monitors or you VR?
I have an Oculus Rift. I bought it basically specifically for racing. I also use a Logitech G920. Before that, I had a Logitech G27, and I had that thing heavily modified, but eventually I just decided I wanted to get something that I could still use on my Xbox One as well. So I bought the G920, and it's been holding up really well ever since.
Very good. What about like third-party software? Are you overlaying anything in the goggles or just
nothing like that. I just keep it bare bones. I adjusted the just the things that you have on screen in iRacing to be at, more of an eye level instead of having to look around. I can basically see everything I need to in a really compact space in my eyes, which is really nice.
Right. All right, cool. What about leagues or team? Or are you a loner out there? Who do you run with?
When it comes to teams, I've been a part of a couple of teams, but nothing serious. Leagues, I was a part of Full Throttle Sim Racing earlier last year. Since then, I haven't really been a part of any league or any teams. I'm just kind of doing my own thing and trying to learn that way.
All right, cool. And tell us about your most memorable iRacing moment.
My most memorable iRacing moment was probably when I got my very first win in the trucks. I've been on iRacing for maybe about 5 months or so, and basically going into Talladega, like this was Talladega, you expect it to be a crapshoot, and I've done races at Talladega, officially multiple times, and I always got wrecked out. Probably on the last lap, like I'd be leading coming to the checkered, and then as soon as you hit the tri-oval and you're on the inside line, I would get loose coming off the corner and I would spin and, probably take out a couple of cars too. But the very first win I ever got, I was talking to one of the guys and he's just like, listen, I'm just going to push you. You follow a line. I'll be right behind you. Don't even bother looking behind you. And he pushed me to my first win. And that was the coolest thing. I burned it down and I was screaming on the radio afterward. Just like I was ecstatic that I finally had gotten a win at Talladega, even at all places.
Yeah. The first one is always a good feeling, isn't it? Yeah. Wait till you win a big race like we're going to talk about, like the Daytona 500. It's a much bigger deal than a normal hourly race, but yeah, that is a big moment for sure. The first ones. I took a look at your stats. You've been around since 2015. Your winning percentage 2.1% on oval. So it looks like you want to get that up a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's not too bad. I mean, I think most people are at 3. Every time I look at this, there is an average somewhere. So you're pretty close to it. But yeah, so welcome to the podcast, Josh. I know you raced with our teammate here, Chris Scales, the other night, and we'll be talking about that. So let's get into it. The NASCAR iRacing Series visited Daytona 500. I'll start out. Wednesday fixed, the first race, P23. And this is kind of how my week went. Was running top 10 until about lap 150. Got ran over from behind, and that was kind of a theme this week. I was all over the guy verbally, telling the guy, they're checking, don't push, there's nowhere to go. We're all in a single file lane. We're going down the backstretch, and he's just dumping me, driving right through me, not lifting at all when everybody else was lifting. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, are they asleep? Are they looking at their phone? I know the single file racing is boring, but come on. I mean, just run over the guy in front of you. And that's exactly what happened. And I called him out for it too. I verbalized after he dumped me what I thought about it. Later, that guy did send me a private message with an apology, though, which I guess that makes it a little bit better. Will, you ran too, and you got wrecked out too. Tell us what happened there. Yeah, it was early. It was an early wreck. I remember that. Yeah, that's kind of the way Daytona goes. Wednesday night, I finished my best result, P8. Ran top 10, top 5 most of the race, really. I was 4th near the end, I think, with like 3 or 4 to go. And I kind of blew it. I floated up a little bit and left enough gap for the guy to go under me, and he did. And I didn't realize it, and it wrecked me out. And so if P8 it was, I was in position. I was kind of getting myself in position to win that race. So my confidence is still super high because I got up there. I was going to be, in a spot to win the 500, and I just made a mistake, and I just blew it. But overall, it was a good race for me and still a top 10, I guess. Teammate Chris Perez ran with us that night. He got a P9. I don't know who else ran Wednesday or even Thursday. Thursday night, Justin Laird, our teammate, he did run the Thursday fixed, finished 11th, 1 lap down. And boy, the attrition was something, especially in those lower splits.
I also ran Thursday night in the fixed series, but that was a terrible race. I made it to lap 50 before I got wrecked out. I was passing a lapped car, and there's a guy right behind me, and I went up. The guy stayed to the bottom, so I moved high to make the pass, and the other guy went high a little late and clipped me, spun me, put me into the wall, and I went and got some damage fixed. It wasn't too bad, but I don't know, about 5 or 10 laps later, my motor blew, and I just called it quits there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a brutal to wait that 30 minutes and whatnot. And so that was Thursday. Friday night, open. Tyler Conroy, P3. He had a huge run out of 2 on the last lap. If he had help, he probably would have won it. I think I watched the end of that race and was kind of coaching him along. Uh, I mean, he was in position to win, but he just didn't have the right kind of help around him. So Tyler almost won Friday night, and he's had a hell of a week. We'll go over the rest of his results. Chris, first, let's hear about your race. Solid top 10, P7.
Well, it was a P7 because nobody in those lower splits can finish the race. It seemed like every race, only the top 5 cars ended up on the lead lap. I think I was 4 laps down. I think I got ran into. I didn't have any major accidents. I just got ran into a few times during the race, and the truck kept getting banged up and didn't have the cautions to fix it, and went a couple laps down. But like I said, I got ran into a few times. Got to apologize to every time, and that's nice, but you kind of just wish they wouldn't run into you in the first place, 30 laps into the race.
Yeah, it's crazy out there. Teammate Craig Hawkins, he finished P9 after starting almost dead last. Brought it home clean, so good top 10 for him as well. And then I don't know who ran Saturday. Did anybody run Saturday?
I ran. It wasn't a notable race. I know I finished the race. I believe it was probably like a P12, something like that. It was just another one of those just getting knocked around and just hanging out there. I think that P7 was my best open, and I think the Sunday race was my best fixed. I think I ran 6 races in the course of the week. I think I told David last night, what I lack in talent, I just make up for in determination. Just keep racing until you get one.
You just make up for in craziness, man. You ran 5 Daytona 500.
That's a lot
You
of
were
miles.
Crazy.
Wow.
2,500 miles.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I might have a problem.
A little bit.
You do.
Well, you were hunting
You
that
drove
win.
all the way across the Atlantic.
He did.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing too. Like I know I've only been around for a few months, and so I know going into the season there's going to be a lot of tracks I haven't even put tires on, and I'm not going to get a lot of wins. But I know Daytona and Talladega, I've already had a couple of wins there, and I knew that if I had that was probably my best chance at getting one. So I hit it really hard this week.
Yep. All right, and then Sunday was the big day for the team. We'll start out with David. Why don't you tell us about your race? You got yourself a top 10. Good job.
Yeah, I got myself a top 10, but if things had gone different, I'd have gotten myself a top 3. I was running with the leaders all race, and like every time all 3 of us ran, we kept pulling away from the pack and pulling away from the pack, and there was a late caution, and Will was crew chiefing for me, and then he had to go to work, and we were coming on the outside, and they pulled down in front, and I had nowhere to go. And the guy, when they pulled down, they pulled off the air off his front nose. He got loose, so he bumped me. So caution came out. I went in, got my 15 seconds fixed damage, and got back behind the leaders and went to go again. And under caution, some dude comes up and just door slams me. I'm like, what the hell? And he sent me an apology, I guess, later, but like, then my car was messed up, and somebody else completely door slammed me, put me on the wall on the inside, and I did my 8 minutes worth of repairs and got back out there, and that's how I salvaged my top 10, 16 laps down. But I could have very easily been third that race. I was that fast.
Yeah, I reckon under caution, that's ridiculous.
I mean, it tore up my left front fender, and once that happened, it killed my speed. I couldn't draft.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. So Tyler Conroy also ran Sunday Open and wins the Daytona 500. Now, I actually came in with like 20 to go and spotted for him. Was kind of coaching him along there. And he got it done. He did it clockwork. It was a really good win. He has definitely got the skills, I tell you what. So congrats to Tyler. He was excited to get a win in the Open 500 Sunday morning there. James O'Brien also ran. He started 31st, moved all the way to the lead at one point, but settled in the top 7. Lap car wrecked half the pack with 30 to go, and he finished 10th. Now, he was in a strength of field of about 4,000, so good job for him. So, like most people in our team seem to have gotten their top 10s. Let's talk Sunday Fix, the final event of the 500. I guess, Chris, let's start with you and Josh. And what a crazy race. I mean, you guys are running 1-2 at the end. When I showed up late, and you're running 1-2, and there's nobody else in the picture. Josh is leading. Chris, you're second. And I start coaching Chris a little bit. You know, I giving Chris some ideas. Okay, hey, if it's just the two of you, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And so, Chris, tell us how that went.
Yeah, I think he probably saw some of that XYZ in the mirror, but yeah, we got.
Oh, did I? My spotter saw it, and he was telling me all about it.
Yeah, so it was just the two of us, and really, I think we were the only 2 cars left in the field that had a full race car.
That
Everybody
we
else
could
was
make
tore
it
up.
all the way
Yeah.
on these cars with Aero.
Yeah, and I came down to probably what would you say, maybe 30, 20 laps to go, and we were running all by ourselves.
It was about 40 to go.
And so with about 5 or 6 laps to go, I probably spent 10 or 15 laps just trying to figure out how I was going to make the pass, trying to figure out exactly where I was going to let off.
You were trying to get the run.
Yeah.
You were getting back, and then just as quickly you would come back, and my spotter, he was just like, he's really trying to get a run on you. You need to stick to your low line.
Yeah. I was just setting you up, waiting for that last lap, but about like I said, 5 or 6 laps to go, you kind of just pulled off the track. You want to take it from there?
All right. So this is the fun part of the story. So, as a person, I have incredible anxiety issues that I've worked on a lot. They've gotten a lot better, but when I've won races on iRacing in the past, it has never been so intense as the Daytona 500. So for most of the race, I was playing it super conservative, and I didn't really push my way up to the front until about probably about lap 120 or so, just to make sure I was up at the front. And anyway, as the race was going on, the laps were winding down, I was starting to hyperventilate a little bit, but I was able to knock it back down. But once about lap 185, 190 came around, my body started to just get on the one track mind of, we're going to win the Daytona 500. Oh my God, we're going to win the Daytona 500. How the hell are we going to win the Daytona 500? And just that forever. And it got so bad to where I started hyperventilating really, really bad, just because I was freaking out about, if I can hang on for 5 more minutes, I've got this race won. That's called counting your chickens before they hatch, obviously. But anyway, so at about lap 195 or so, I start hyperventilating really, really bad, and I start to lose feeling and control of my hands. They started locking in a really weird way, and I couldn't get them moving again. And then at about what was it, about lap 196 when I pulled up, when I pulled off the track?
That was 4 to go.
Like that.
Yeah. So 196, that was when I basically just lost control of my arms. And I had to forcefully move my wheel over. Like, I had to put a lot of force into it to move my arm. And I was trying to stomp on the brakes, but of course my body's in like meltdown mode, and I couldn't really figure out. So I was just like tapping on my brake until I stopped. And then I immediately, like, as soon as I stopped the car, I took off my Oculus and I took off my headset. I leaned over my steering wheel, and I was just gasping for breath, just trying to, make my body calm down. And my spotter, Brandon, like, thank God he was there. He's like, dude, if you need to pull over, do it right now. Like, I don't want you having some kind of medical emergency. I don't want you passing out while you're racing, because that wouldn't be fun for you. Wouldn't be fun for anybody. So I pulled over, and immediately after, he's like, dude, I'm so proud of you for at least you made it this far. We almost had this race won, but it doesn't really matter. like that race would have meant everything to me if I would have won it. But at the same time, you know, I wanted to be okay at the end of it. And if that's how actual NASCAR drivers feel at the end of the Daytona 500, I am grateful I'm not one of them.
So, have you run a long race like that before? I mean, did you know what you were in for with the 4-hour race?
Honestly, this is the longest race I ever ran at Daytona. And honestly, like, I didn't think it was going to be that bad. Like, I've done long enough races, like 120 laps at Daytona. You know, nothing, you know, not 500 miles. I've never done that before in a race. But it was just kind of cut and dry. I'm just like, all right, sit in my chair. You know, don't ever let go of the gas for 4.5 hours. And I didn't know what I was expecting. I didn't know what I was in for, but I just knew I wanted to be a part of it. This is the first time I've ever been a part of the 500. Every year for the last couple of years, I haven't been able to be a part of it because of either work or something like that. And this year, I was dead set on being a part of it.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So you're leading the Daytona 500, and with 4 to go, you pull over because you're hyperventilating basically, and you can't breathe right. And
I couldn't breathe.
Is it just the stress of, hey, I'm about to win?
Yeah,
I see him now. So when I heard about this, when Chris and I were talking about it, I was like, I wonder if it was because we were trying to slingshot him and work on a pass.
No,
that got him nervous enough to be in that condition.
Oh no, absolutely not. My spotter Brandon, he was telling me everything you guys were doing. He's like, they're pulling back and coming up. They're trying to get a run. Just keep that in mind. Just keep it in mind. And I was looking behind, like I was looking at my rearview mirror. I was like, how the hell are these guys going to get a run on me when I've got the inside line, and the outside line doesn't work very well unless you have a line?
There's a way to do it. And so
don't tell me that now.
Well, I was telling Chris, I wasn't even watching till the very end, but I was telling Chris how to do it. I call it a slingshot move. When there's just 2 cars, you can time it just right. And Chris was really close to having it perfected, I think, right before you pulled off.
You were going back and forth, like I was looking at you, and I'm like, he's really, like, for like 20 something laps, you were trying this out. Like, you were just trying to get a feel for where I was, really.
Yeah, I was pretty much just trying to figure out where to start it, where to kind of shove you off and drop back so I could make sure I made the pass at the right time. Because, yeah, it was man, it was really easy, actually, just to drop off, and I would get such a huge run with just the 2 of us. I mean, you were kind of a sitting duck. I really thought what was going to happen at the end of the race, I was going to get that run. You were going to pull up to block me, and it was going to be like an Austin Dillon deal. I was like,
oh no,
we were wrecking across. We were going to wreck.
I was not going to move. I had that dead set in my mind. I was never going to move from that spot. Inside line was going to be mine. And if you went to the outside, I would hope to God I got a better run coming off of turn 4.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we could have raced it out. Yeah, it's unfortunate how it ended, obviously, but man, that just shows you how intense, the simulator is. I mean, you're just sitting here in front of a computer. You're not even in a real car.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. I mean, everybody's, maybe not to that extreme, but probably every one of us in here has gotten to the point where, we're just sweating like crazy, and our heart's pounding, our hands are shaking.
Like, I haven't had a severe anxiety attack like the one I had on Sunday night in about 5 years. And it was for something that actually mattered, as opposed to, a race on iRacing, where if I lose, okay, I lose. That's fine. But this was the Daytona 500, man. This is the 500. I'm not going to give up the 500. Well, lo and behold, I give up the 500.
Way to go, Chris. Way to cause a medical emergency.
Yeah, Chris.
Well, you're not the only guy there, Josh. Now, I haven't gotten to the point where I pulled over. But I tell you what, there's been some races I've been in where I'm fighting for the win. We're coming down to the end, and I'm shaking like a leaf. I mean, I'm sweating. I'm breathing heavy. If you took my pulse, I'm sure it was like 130. I mean, it happens. I mean, and that's a normal response. So,
yeah, I mean, when it came down to it, I mean, like I said, I've won races in the past, but they sure, I'm shaking like crazy and I'm freaking out, but just because of the circumstances that it was the Daytona 500 made it that much more intense for me, because I've got 5 minutes left in this race. 5 minutes. And if I can at least hold the lead for the next 5 minutes, I might have this race won. And it's the 500. Like I was telling my spotters, like if I win this is something I could put on my iRacing biography, which I haven't put anything on there yet because I haven't really accomplished too much of anything that I would consider awesome. But just because it was the 500, and I really wanted so bad to win that, and I like at the toward the end of it, like 20 to go, I was visualizing, I'm like, how am I gonna celebrate this win? How am I gonna do that?
Yeah, it ain't over till it's over. But
yeah.
Well, next time it'll be that much sweeter if you can get that win, huh?
If I can make it. If Chris is in my split again next year.
Well, let's turn it back to so good finish. I mean, Josh, you still had a good run.
Yeah,
I mean, still top 10 and
P6 at the end of it.
Yeah, so and you led some laps, so you have a lot to be proud of. I mean, that was a good run.
Thank you.
All right, and then Chris, I mean, tell us what your thought was. I mean, I was kind of giving you some ideas. You were executing very well on those ideas, and then all of a sudden he pulled over. We're like, what, is he out of fuel? I mean, what were you thinking? Oh, okay. Yeah, it was crazy.
I bumped
There
my
you
mute
are.
button. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, actually, when he first just started to pull over, I thought he was letting me by because I thought he was going to do the same thing to me that I was trying to do to him. He was going to try to get that big run and pass me on the last lap. But when he just completely stopped, yeah, I had no clue. That was actually the first thing I thought. He had some kind of, it was a medical emergency or a family emergency, something serious. Because it wasn't a disconnect. He pulled over and stopped. So I was like, man, something serious had to go down in this guy's house for him to pull over his car after running 3 hours. And that's another thing too. It was a full length race, so I mean, you have to run for so long and keep your car clean just to get to the point where we were.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you run 3.5, 4 hours. You have like literally 4 minutes left or something. You don't just pull over. I mean, my house could be burning down, and by God, I'm going to take that caution before I get up and go put the fire out.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking, what happened? What happened? And, that he had to pull over. It had to be serious.
Yeah. And I never would have pulled over if I didn't feel like I had to. And like I was saying, my spotter was telling me, dude, if you need to pull over, pull over, because he was hearing me on my mic. Just I was freaking out at the end of it, and by the end of it, I was yelling like, "My hands! I can't move my hands."
So, Chris, your first big win in iRacing, really. So, congratulations, man. That's well earned.
Yeah,
I mean, you ran a bunch of
congratulations,
starts
Chris.
and you had a bunch of bad races. Now, Chris, I want to ask you one more thing. You had told me when you went into this race, I'm going to do it differently than I've done the rest of the week. The rest of the week, I always get wrecked. I always get caught up. But what did you do differently this time? And then you win it.
Well, yeah, like I said, I ran a lot of these races, and it seemed like every single race, whether it was open or fixed, it was the top 5 were on the lead lap, and that was it. And I had told myself in a lot of the races I was going to start from the back, I was going to take it easy. But you'll start from the back, and then the racer in you, kicks in, and 30 laps, you're running with everybody. You might not push it to the front, but you're still running in a pack in the back. You're running with other cars, and this time I stayed to that strategy. I literally pulled onto the back stretch all the way until like halfway through the race, and I just dropped straight to the back of the field. I mean, off the lead draft. Just figuring, because the leaders are only going to get a second or so on you as long as you can stay with another car or even by yourself. And how often are you going to run, especially in those lower splits? How often are you going to run 40 laps straight without a caution? And yeah, it worked out. I said at the end of the race, I think it was just myself and Josh that didn't have banged up cars. I think there was a couple more up in the front, but they wrecked themselves towards the end of the race.
Yeah, that was about what about 20 or so ago. There was a wreck, but there was no caution.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and I think there was a couple of wrecks, and when I decided to start racing, and I was running in the top 5, and actually even backed out of that mess because you could see that they were getting a little crazy. I think Josh made it through because he was leading. I made it through because I laid back a little bit, and those other guys running the top 5, just wrecked each other, just racing too hard.
Well, great win. I I mean, max points too. I mean, you can't start the season off better than that. So good job. Tyler Conroy in a different split. He wins again. Twice in the same day, he won the 500. He won the open and the fixed. And I actually spotted him during the last few laps of his race again. And I hope I had something to do with him winning. I think I might have. I was giving him some good ideas about stay tight and how to restart and side draft more than he would be side drafting. No, you got to do more, or that kind of stuff. I was really coaching him on how to do it, and he obviously has the talent, and he wins again. I mean, so that's 3 500 wins within this team this week. So I'm very, very proud of that. So good job to everybody. Other results from Sunday night: Greg Hectus, another newcomer to the team. He had computer issues all week. He had to wipe out his system and start over. But he ended up running Sunday night. He started 4th. Ran up front for the first little bit, but was involved in a wreck. And it ended up 30th after a blown engine. So bummer for Greg. And then newcomer Phil Linden, who we met last week on the podcast, P5 in his first ever NIS race. He's never been in the NASCAR iRacing series yet. He did qualify P8, stayed in the top 10 all race, avoided 3 wrecks, had 5 cautions and 1 green flag pit stop. He did find a few buddies and worked their way up the ranks. He was on track for a P3 or a P4, but pushed the tires too hard and ended up crossing the finish line backwards for the P5. So he was excited. He was pumped for the P5. It was just like, because Chris won, Tyler won, and then Phil had a P5. He was stoked.
Yeah, good for all these guys. Especially Phil for his first NIS race ever. I mean, that's going to be a huge boost of confidence for him. And heck, a 5th place finish is not. It's tough to get.
Yeah,
Yes,
and then
especially on these full-length races. I mean, yeah, that's another thing. Adding that in, I mean, just making it to the end and having a car that's capable of being in the top 5 is huge.
Yep. And there's been a lot of attrition in these races. So I'll end it up with my result for Sunday night. I got wrecked out. Flat over, ran over again, just like the first race of the week. Going down the backstretch, single file. He would not stop pushing. I was verbal. I said, I got on the radio. I mean, now I think I just need to move out of the way. Just pull out a line if somebody's doing that. It's crazy. So it's like 3 or 4 times, it's happened. The same guy wrecked me. Later in the race, he wrecked another guy doing the same thing. And he doesn't get it. I mean, what did these people think? It is so irritating to me that people just run through you. It's crazy. Top split of the NIS was broadcast by RaceSpot TV. I didn't see who won it, but it was quite a finish. They did post up the last 2 minutes of the race on their Twitter handle at RaceSpot TV. Pretty crazy finish. Looked kind of like a lot of the races we saw where wrecks the top 5 take out the field. So that seems to be a common occurrence. People are trying so hard because it is the 500. All right, let's jump to Atlanta is next, guys. We've been working on sets. We've been trying the different sets we have within the team. I did some practice before the podcast. What do you guys think? Atlanta is treacherous.
It is by far and away the most loose track I think I've ever raced on.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough run this week. Actually, I've just been putting in some laps. I just did about 20 laps, and I had a good run going, and just caught it a little bit right in the wall.
Yeah, down in my basement splits, it's going to be another attrition week, I think. If you can just keep your car on the track, keep the fenders on it the whole time, you're going to have a good finish.
Yeah. If you think people bumping at Daytona is bad, wait till they start bumping in Atlanta.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be very high attrition. People have not practiced. Those guys are going to wreck for sure because it's all about throttle control. If you're not smooth on the throttle coming off too, it'll spin down the back. That's what I've learned.
It's actually, I don't know, but the set I'm using 2 is pretty stable. It's 4 coming off of 4 where it gets super slick and the back tires don't want to grip. So if you're coming off of 4 and you just mash it, you're gonna go around.
Yeah, so I'm still undecided about which set I'm gonna run. There's a couple favorites, I guess, that were kind of different people like, but they're hard. I mean, even the fixed is really hard. It's slick. It's real easy to overdrive it and slide the tires and just ruin it for later. All right, so that's Atlanta. Let's get it done, guys, and keep the momentum up after a good Daytona. Let's talk about Road to Pro. We did run that last week, Tuesday night, Daytona trucks. I ended up P29, 8 laps down from a lost internet connection. And it's not really my internet at my house, it's my stupid computer. And it's done it before, but it's never done it in a race. But like I'll be sitting here reading Facebook or going through email, and the computer will just act like a cable got unplugged. In fact, that's a little pop-up that comes up that says, your Ethernet cable has become unplugged. Well, obviously nothing's unplugged. If I reboot the computer, it fixes the issue. But after rebooting and whatnot, 8 laps down, so I stayed in it and just tried to gather whatever points I could, and there was no attrition really, so 29th is what I got. Tony, you had the best run of the week. Dang it, you almost won this thing.
Yeah, it was, it was so close. And did I have a chance at the end? No, not really. I couldn't get the run. I needed another lap. I might have been able to put some pressure on there. But it was a good race. Like going up there, a lot of wrecks. And I think it was just I had luck on my side, being able to weave my way through all those wrecks and stuff. At one point, I had a guy completely facing me as he's sliding out. Like I was staring directly at his helmet. He was that close, and it was it was crazy. But yeah, near the end, I mean, I was right up front. I was sitting about P3, and they brake checked me a little bit, and I kind of got a little squirrely and ended up taking a guy out, which I felt really bad for. He's probably swearing at me, and that was well deserved. But I did end up P2 at the end of it. Really, really happy with that finish. And that truck, that setup was fast. Holy cow.
Yeah, I think it was. Chris, you were in Tony's split. Tell us about your run. You guys were running together for a while.
Yeah, we kind of ran in the back there at the beginning of the race, from what I remember. But I got caught up in an early wreck, hit pit road, and was laps down early. The P12 was basically just from sticking it out until the end. I was pretty beat up. Really wish we could have, me and Tony could have hooked up at some point, because man, just having a teammate in the same split with you is such a huge advantage. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to the end like he was.
Well, it was a huge advantage, and we were able to connect there for a few laps, which actually you helped push me past a bunch of guys that were kind of all over the track. And maybe I wouldn't have got a P2 if you weren't behind me pushing me through all that stuff.
Yeah, actually, I think right about that time is when that wreck happened. I think those were the same guys that I didn't make it past.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So a good start for you for the points in the Road to Pro. In fact, we'll talk a little bit later. The points were all jacked up. I think you were in the top 50 after that P2 for a while anyway, until they fixed it.
Yeah, for a blink of the eye, I kind of felt like a bit of a hero.
I had some crappy luck myself starting out that race.
Oh, hey, Phil. Glad you're joined us there. Tell us about your run.
Seeing as I thought I had a wonderful setup, I'm sitting here like with my head and my nose all in the air, like I've gotten everything figured out and ready to go race. Jump out on the track when the race starts, and the gas pedal doesn't work. Someone in the shop left the cable off. I had to pull off to the side, restart it all, and get back out 9 laps down.
Yeah, and you can't get that many laps back. It's too hard.
Not when there's single file restarts, you can't.
Right. Yeah, and what a mess was that? Let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, we're expecting, normal NASCAR rules. There's no lucky dogs, and it's single file restarts. I mean, what in the world?
Yeah, somebody dropped the ball on that one for sure.
Well, I hope they did get it straightened out for next time. Teammate James O'Brien, he finished 18th after being involved in 2 minor wrecks, so nothing too notable there. But Road to Pro again is when? Vegas?
Yeah, it's next week in Vegas. I was going to say I finished 18th as well, Mike. I qualified 5th, thinking I'm going to have a good run. 5 laps in, somebody turns me 37 laps down.
Ouch.
People can't drive.
So it's a week from tonight, Vegas. Will, you're taking leadership on our sets there, and you got something for us. I haven't tried it yet, though. Yeah, Vegas.
I'm ready
Which
for
is
that one.
that's a good track for the trucks. I mean, what do you guys think?
I'm
I love it.
excited. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm in the same boat, Chris. I love Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas is always good for the trucks.
Yeah, just the trucks in general are freaking awesome.
I think that's where I'm gonna make up some points. Finishing 29th in the Daytona. I believe I should make a good comeback with the mile and a half. That's mainly what my background is, running mostly trucks. I finished 3rd in the official season last season, the last long season. So I'm looking forward to this. Trying to figure out the new build's been a handful, but I'm ready.
Yeah, so we got a week to test and make sure we're set for that. After my bad run, yeah, I'm looking for redemption myself. All right, let's talk Peak and Peak Antifreeze Series. That's going to be what we alternate with the Road to Pro. So since we're not racing tonight, that means the Peak boys are, and they are running Daytona tonight. And I think I'm probably going to watch this after the podcast. I'll at least check the end out. These guys usually are pretty good about piling up. It's kind of entertaining.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow you on that one. Actually, I'll be running it on my top monitor while I shake down some sets tonight.
Yeah, multitask. Yeah, so now they've been advertising it on the public iRacing.com page with the schedule, talking about the kickoff at Daytona and whatnot. Yeah. Any favorites, championship favorites before they start? Yeah,
I forgot all
Marcus
about-
Richardson is really good. He just needs some luck.
I forgot about that. Who are their drivers? Who did they pick up for that?
Yeah, it's Marcus Richardson, Logan Clampett. He finished second last year. Michael Conti, who's a champ, and then a couple others.
I'm really pulling for Michael Conti tonight.
Yeah, I think Casey Kerwin is somebody to watch for. He's really fast right now, so check him out too. All right, let's jump into topics. Tony, you're first.
Okay. Well, first topic. I mean, we've touched on it already, and that was but what happened in the Road to Pro race. Big issues. Single file restarts. There's no lucky dog, no waiver rounds.
Oh, and the points.
Oh yes, and the points. I'm not 100% on how they did that, but a guy like me, I'm second from bottom split. There's no way that I should have been anywhere near that 50 place mark. But those got all screwed up too.
They were, and the way it was scored is every split was equal as far as the amount of championship points that were awarded, pretty much. So bottom split got as many points as top split. That's the way I understood it. Which is kind of a neat idea, but honestly, yeah, it doesn't really work. So they did fix it. But it obviously just, caused a lot of discussion in the forums, But, I mean, it's such a big race. It was so well publicized. It was such a huge turnout. David, tell me, I think we saw over 1,000 people register for that race.
For the Road to Pro, yeah. They broke
Yeah.
1,000 people.
Yeah, that's a huge amount. I mean, I don't know. I've never seen that number before.
Yeah, that's big. And so when they screw it up and their single file restarts, I mean, it seems so obvious to us, the drivers. I mean, how can they screw this up? Well, Tyler Hudson, he did post about it a few times. He said there was an error creating the series. Moving forward, I have requested ability to double and triple check all the series settings before it goes live. I think developing a small team to help with that, along with myself, could help prevent these type of situations in the future. So it sounds like he has an idea to fix this on a go-forward basis. Because if it's just one guy who does it and he drops the ball, then he drops the ball.
Yeah, and I believe Tyler did finish off with a post confirming that there is a few other guys that are going to have their eyeballs on things just to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again.
So they did what they called rerun the results through the database to calculate the correct points. And they did redo them, apparently. So
Yeah, that's they said everything should be all good. Now I haven't gone in and checked, but I know I should be down there pretty darn far.
right. But at least they, acknowledge they've made a mistake and they are doing something different than normal to correct it. Okay, Will, what's next? Pretty funny. Yeah, Shannon Whitmore, he's the guy who used to be the director of competition at iRacing. He no longer is employed at iRacing. I understand he works for John Henry, the founder of iRacing, doing some other jobs. So pretty funny, I thought. All right, I'll take the next one. Let's see. It is a group called Gen X Racing has put up a website, genxracing.com, where they're going to provide public sets for the 8 car throughout the NASCAR season. And it sounds like later in the thread, Mr. John Hammer, who's a friend of a podcast, was offering to put up his sets with theirs and get a common place for these. I don't know if that worked out, but hey, if you're looking for sets, guys, try Gen X Racing. It looks like they have pretty good iRating, some of the drivers involved.
I just tried their Atlanta set. It's way looser than what we got.
Loose, huh?
I think this is great that these guys are doing this. You know, I know there's a lot of guys out there that just use the fixed set to run the Open Series for various reasons. Now we got to get a few guys there that know how to build sets and let these other guys that don't know how to build sets or don't have time to build sets, so they can still come out and enjoy the open side of racing and kind of boost those numbers up a little bit. I think it's great.
Yeah, you don't see this in past years a lot where people are openly sharing good sets. I think it'll help drive participation to Open, Like you said, to people that don't have time, hey, they can just pick up one of these sets and race because it's got to be better than fixed.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, like, good on these guys like John Hammer and these other fellas. I don't have my link open, Gen X Racing, for doing that for everybody. That's awesome.
Yeah, very good job, guys. Keep it up. We'll probably end up using some of those sets. I don't know, David, you said it was pretty loose?
It was loose. I mean, I could barely get around the track with it, so I'm going back to the 1.5. I think that's what I'm going to run tomorrow night for the Open. It seems pretty stable, and I'm not like putting blistering laps down. I mean, I just did a 31.662. I don't know how fast that is, but since Atlanta has no grip.
All right, Tony, what's next?
Oh, this a post about the cushions. Will, I think I'm going to let you take this one here. This is your forte. This is all about the dirt stuff, and I don't understand much of it.
It's not quite there, yeah. Yep. All right, next topic. Tyler also posted up looking for the season 2 schedules from the community. The deadline has come and gone, guys. So if you didn't get it done, you do not get to help choose the tracks for season 2. So it's pretty cool that they're taking user input on that. But it looks like a lot of these forum posts from the various series doesn't look like the community actually did squat. It only did it in the more popular ones. So, for example, the advanced Mazda MX-5 Cup is the one I'm looking at right now, and nobody gave him a schedule for it. So nobody cares about MX-5 Cup, I guess. Well, the forum sucks, yeah. Right. Right. Yep. All right, Tony, you're next.
Yeah, so at Cody Tabor 18 tweeted iRacing Steve Myers and that so I see the Charlotte Roval is on the NIS schedule. When is the ETA on that? June or September build? Steve Myers come back and said it's penciled in there. To be honest, we have already scanned the new configuration once and need to go back again now that it has changed once more. So I don't know about you guys, but I really hope this penciling in gets changed to ink because this track sounds like a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it, and I wish they'd quit changing it so so we could be able to race there in the fall.
I think they're done changing it. So they just need to get it scanned. And like we talked about on a previous podcast, boy, if they get it done by the June build, then the NASCAR drivers will probably actually use it for training, and it would be a good idea to get it done. I hope they can get it scanned soon. All right, Will, what's next? Oh. And Charlotte ain't going to happen until they scan it again, so. Oh. Yep. All right, very cool. That Charlotte dirt oval is outside the big oval, right? Like the drag strip too, yeah. Cool, cool. All right, next topic. It was on Twitter. Indianapolis Motor Speedway twittered up a picture of a iRacing simulator that they've put together for the Indy 500 coming up. And it's pretty cool, guys. It's an actual IndyCar chassis, a DW12, retrofitted for iRacing. And They kind of cut out the little cockpit so you could easily get into the seat, and they got a big old 50-inch monitor there, and it's on some kind of platform. I don't think it's moving or anything, but they can like roll it around. Pretty cool. What do you think about making a cockpit out of an Indy car?
Sounds expensive.
Yeah, that's an expensive dream.
Right. Well, pretty cool simulator. If you go to the Indy 500, you'll probably be able to race in it and check it out. Okay, Tony, what's next?
Chris Burgess threw a post up on the forums. Is there cheating on iRacing? Now, his write-up is pretty good, so I'm just going to read it. This topic is almost taboo, but I wonder about it all the time. How much confidence can we have that everyone is competing on an even playing field? Is it possible that grip weather hacks still exist, or does EAC do a good job of preventing that? I'm genuinely curious. It happens in other online games after all. I have no reason to believe it is happening here, and I really hope it isn't, but I guess we wouldn't know if some alien is 2 seconds faster because of their supreme talent or because of something more sinister. Curious to know what others think. Found that really interesting. I actually, to be honest with you, I never even really thought about it. It didn't look to me any of my experiences that people are cheating, and I know if people even try to skirt stuff, iRacing comes down pretty hard on them for just trying that, like exploits and stuff like that. So what are your guys' thoughts?
Boy, I don't know. I don't think it's happening. I really don't. I think that iRacing is in front of it. I think that the addition of the EAC and the kind of stuff that they're checking and doing is extreme. And, if somebody is getting away with it, they're pretty damn smart,
I don't think it's worth the risk. I don't think it's happening because if it does happen, I'm sure it's happening on a new user, new account. They might try some kind of hack, they get busted and banned. Somebody that's mattered, somebody that has been around for a year or two, has a high I rating, they're not going to take that risk. It's just not worth it, I don't think.
I'm glad they fixed the one where you could leave right before the room started, within like 2 minutes of the the end of the practice or something like that, and then come back and you get a cooler weather.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
They worked that one over. We had I run in a league. I'm not going to mention the name then. And we had several guys. We got to wondering why right before the race the whole crew of them would leave and then come back right before the race started, and they were dominating pretty good. And we got to checking into it and found out that's what was going on.
Yeah, but the exploits in the traditional sense, I mean, for something like iRacing are, extremely hard to do. It's not like it's an FPS where you can get an aimbot or stuff like that. That's pretty common and generic. I mean, especially, you gotta be, like you said, you gotta be damn smart. I don't see people really doing that. I don't think there is anybody cheating on here, to be honest.
There's actually a post we have a little further down in the podcast mentioning some questioning of cheating. I'll kind of skip a little bit ahead here. But I think if anything happens, we'll have situations where people are going to catch on really quick. I think a lot of iRacers take this very, very seriously. They work really hard. And then all of a sudden something strange happens, like people dropping out of a session just before the race and joining them back up or stuff of that nature. I think people work so hard, if something happens, they're going to notice and figure it out really quick. So I think not only do we have iRacing policing it, but we'll police ourselves better than anybody. So
yeah, we got checking into it right away because it just didn't seem right. And with all the hours I know myself practicing and working on sets, it kind of bothered me a pretty good bit. And never every practice race we had up, you never seen them.
Yeah.
Hey Phil, don't you kind of have a funny story about your friend wanted to try iRacing, so you let him?
Yeah. Don't let your friends try iRacing and walk away. I let a buddy of mine go at it, and we were in a hosted race, and I told him I was thirsty, so I head upstairs to get some drink, and I come back down, and he's like not racing. I'm like, what happened? He said, I don't know. We got just disconnected. I'm like, okay, I didn't think nothing about it. Next thing I know, I receive a message from iRacing that I'm being banned from hosted races for 2 weeks. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. And got in touch with iRacing, had to write a formal letter trying to figure out what was going on. And I called my buddy. He finally owned up to what he did. And yeah, I wrote that letter to iRacing, and they still banned me a week. But they, I explained to him, what he ended up doing is he got spun or something in the trial, and it made him mad, and he turned around and tried to go backwards on the track and got me banned.
Man, doesn't take much, yeah.
No, and I try to get, I tell everybody in the world, everybody I see on a daily basis about my iRacing, and so I dang sure don't want to be, messed up. And anybody, I tell everybody, all my people I know around here about it, and they like, oh, they get all excited. I'm like, shoot, I invite them to the house, set them down here in the rig, and let them try it out. And the best thing to do is see if you like it before you buy into it. I know I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
That would be great use of AI when they bring it to the service, where you can have a friend sit down and race against some people where he's not, racing against real people in a real race, but
Right.
also not in a test, a boring test session either.
Exactly. Yeah, that will be nice for AI. Yeah, as far as cheating goes, I don't think it's happening, but you never know. Yeah, this other story we'll go into later, it will make you go a little bit, but we'll talk about that. Let's go to the next topic. A pretty cool thread going on the forums called Did You Know? And people are basically putting up little tips and tricks about iRacing. And some of them are pretty useful. So I did write down a few of these to read to you guys. This one I didn't know. He said, Tyler actually posted this one. He said, in the sim, if you press Control plus page up and page down, you can change the size of the interface. So like the relative box can get bigger or smaller by doing Control and then page up and down.
That's actually really cool because I use, I think, like the 66% UI when I'm driving in my VR headset, but I like the 100% when I'm working on setups and trying to read that small font. So that's actually really cool. I'm going to have to map that somehow or use an audio command, but that's
yeah,
really
map it
cool.
to a button. Here's the next one. David Tucker put up, holding the shift key while incrementing values while in the garage will make them increment in larger steps. So like you're done qualifying, got to remove your tape from 100% down to whatever. It takes forever to click that to go down to 50. Well, if you hold down the shift, it'll go way faster. The next one was also David Tucker. You can actually type into the chat while in the sim. To get a list of radio commands, you type the @ symbol help. For a list of pit stop commands, you type pound help or hashtag help. For a list of admin commands for hosting, you type exclamation point help. So those are pretty cool, and it gives you a list of all the commands when you type that and hit enter. The next one was, I haven't tried this one. David Tucker says, in the app INI file under graphics, there's something called the drive UI full screen equals 1 that lets the driving screen expand onto the side monitors. And if you set the session UI full screen equal 1, it lets the replay screen expand onto the side monitors. So the user interface part of the sim, like if you're out of the car and you have the stuff across the top and the bottom, you can have that on the single monitor in the middle if you have triples, or you can expand it to all three. That's a little confusing. The next one, and I've used this one. This is pretty handy, especially if you're on a team. If you go edit a file on your computer, it's under Documents, iRacing, Scripts, Radio, Launch.txt. If you go to that and edit that with a notepad, you type in a custom radio channel name, like at Team Tifosi or something like that, and you save it, every time you go into the sim, it'll automatically create that channel. And so when you go to change up and down on your channels, that custom one will be in the list automatically. So lots of good tidbits. Do you guys have any others I didn't mention?
If you don't wreck, you're probably going to finish better. I think a lot of people don't know that, but no, to be honest, they covered some really, really cool stuff. I know if you do run in an Oculus, there are times where it loses sync and you start to drop frames. I believe if you click Control number pad 1, that desyncs and resyncs it, which brings your frame rate back up. For a while there, I actually had that mapped to a button on my wheel. And the only time I really had issues was during the 24 hours of Daytona. When I got that many cars on track and that many shadows going, I would press the button and it would pretty much drop it to 45 frames for just a moment, then bring me right back up to 90 frames a second. But turning off the shadow maps at night helped a ton, so haven't done it in a while. So that's the only thing I could really think of that took me a little research and was pretty much helpful on a daily basis.
Right. All right, Tony, what's next?
Oh, we got a Twitter post. Says from iRacing, says check out episode 3 of Behind the Wall at Bubba Wallace. We managed to sneak in there. Thanks for the kind words. I went to go click on the link, but the link wouldn't let me play the video, so I didn't get to see this. But sounds like Bubba Wallace is sending some iRacing some love.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool video series that he's doing. He's with this NBA rookie named Malik Monk, and he's showing him around Richard Petty Motorsports. And they actually have a rig set up there in the race shop with Oculus Rift. He's got an AccuForce wheel, looks like maybe Fanatec pedals and shifter, single monitor. And he's showing him how to iRace. And he put him in the car and let him try it. And then he got in and did some laps and kind of showed him how it's done and kind of talked it up. And they have it in the race shop for a reason. It's a tool for him to get ready for the races. So pretty cool. Okay, so Will, what's next?
So we can have some more talk about whether iRacing should or should not be for team racing. And Tyler Hudson posted up in the forums, iRacing should not be on for team racing. There was a bug in the system causing some iRacing exchanges in sessions that shouldn't have happened. The engineers are working to fix the issue, and they're also working to remove exchanges that happened in those sessions. It also was not exchanged properly. Sorry for any confusion. It's a system bug that will be corrected. In the event that iRating is turned on for team events, it will be in the release notes.
Yeah, so there's more to this story. So what happened with this was a Saturday, the guys ran their team events like normal, and all of a sudden their iRating changed. Well, wait, we talked about this last week. They were talking about doing it, but all of a sudden it works. It's just on, and everyone had different iRating exchanges. So anyway, what happened was earlier in the morning, Tyler actually posted up, and somebody actually caught a screenshot of it in a subsequent post. He had posted, iRating will now be distributed in all official team sessions. And then later in the day, he wrote, iRacing, well, later what happened is he erased the thread that included what he had typed earlier. That got deleted. And then he posted again, iRating should not be on for team racing. There was a bug in the system. And so it sounds like, I'm not sure what happened. Tyler had a bad day or something. So it sounds like he turned it on, and he probably shouldn't have, and then they turned it back off. I don't know. Next topic. We did get a message from a listener, Brandon Grace. Hey, Mike, I just wanted to thank you for doing your podcast every week. Your podcast is the reason I joined iRacing last year. I took my time last year in the NIS series learning how to drive the A car. I just raced my first Daytona Open NIS and got third. Just wanted to say I really enjoy listening to you guys every week, and I've learned a lot about iRacing from your podcast. You guys are doing a great job. Well, how about that?
Well, that's awesome. And so he started iRacing because listening to this podcast. Now, how cool is that?
Yeah, he found us first. Yeah, or something. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't really expect that, but definitely welcome that. That's cool.
Yeah, the podcast is growing. We'll talk about that in another story, but yeah, it's great to hear these kind of stories. I love it, guys. If you have something to say, just let us know. You know how to find me. But we'll read it on the podcast if you send me a note like that. But hey, congratulations, Brandon Grace, on the third place. Good job at Daytona. Okay, Tony, you're up next. NASCAR quote.
Yeah, we got there's an article posted on foxbusiness.com, and the title says NASCAR taps into esports to recruit young fans, drivers. A little excerpt that I'll read here. NASCAR's invested in new ventures targeting both serious virtual drivers and casual gamers, part of a strategy to leverage the fast-growing esports industry to help build a new generation of fans. William Byron began his racing career online, competing in hundreds of races in the globally popular simulation game iRacing. His rapid ascent through NASCAR's ranks is one piece of evidence that esports can steer drivers and fans to the sport. That's a really nice little article. Kind of saying what we've been saying. Now it's getting further and further out into the public eye. iRacing's getting a lot of love from a lot of places.
And I know that Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's brought up a few times that like somebody like Josh Berry, like he became really close to Josh Berry using iRacing. And because of that, he decided, because of how well he ran on the service, he decided that he was going to give him a shot in a car. And it's paid off pretty well for him so far. I mean, from a guy who didn't really race before, works out for him.
Yeah, and this is big, guys. Foxbusiness.com. This is a business website that talks about stocks and trading and financial institutions and banking, and they're talking about NASCAR. Now, there's actually a quote from the NASCAR Vice President of Consumer Innovation, Blake Davidson, confirming that NASCAR is involved in this. The quote is, "Young drivers are coming along and they can relate to this young demographic. Gaming and esports are a natural fit. To leverage the stars of NASCAR through esports to attract new fans is really authentic." So I guess that's a confirmation that they're working on it. But we know the teams are. NASCAR's obviously got to be involved too. So it is coming together, guys.
Yeah, it's coming together, and it's looking pretty cool. I mean, even during the Daytona, Jeff Gordon was referencing iRacing just before the race, saying kind of the same thing there.
Yeah, he said it right on the broadcast, huh?
I think it's just really nice to see NASCAR taking advantage of gaming or sim racing a lot more. I grew up with every NASCAR game from, I think, NASCAR 2000 on my PlayStation 1, and that's how I got to know some of the drivers as far as like the mid-packers and the backpackers that you don't get mentioned in the show. And like, I grew up with gaming and NASCAR working in unison. Now I do iRacing, and it's definitely much more than a game. So I think it's a great way to reach out to more people and help grow NASCAR as a sport. Plus, esports is such a huge market that's constantly growing. If they could get talent from sim racing to the professional level, that's something no other esport can do. Madden doesn't relate to football talent in any way. Call of Duty doesn't relate to anything. League of Legends, but sim racing, iRacing in general, does relate to NASCAR in multiple ways, not just in the ability to drive and learn the tracks and the mental challenges. And I think there's a huge opportunity and a huge potential for NASCAR, and I'm glad to see them finally get on it, because I feel like there hasn't been a lot of NASCAR back stuff on the gaming side, or in this case sim racing, in like the last decade. So I feel like the fact that they're on top of their stuff now, I think is going to be great for the sport and great for sim racing.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see how it comes out. All right, next topic, Steve Myers and Tony Gardner, who's the CEO of iRacing, were at the Daytona 500 this last week, and they posted up a picture of the Coca-Cola racing family display, where they have some really nice iRacing motion rigs set up for fans to try. And there's like a line of people, and you can actually go up there. It looks like there's 2 or 3 of them, and they're taking turns running laps. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and Coca-Cola has been involved in esports, I would say, quite a bit over the last 2 to 3 years. So with the relationship they also have with NASCAR, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Coca-Cola sponsored series or backed Peak Antifreeze team. Like they're a huge company. That's a great marketing tool for them, and it's cool to see them marketing it and doing it all with iRacing.
Yep. Yeah, you're seeing iRacing in all different things. You're seeing them behind the grandstands. We've talked about that, for the fans, and now we're going to have this league with the race teams. Anyway, all right, what's next, Will?
So Mitchell DeJong, I would think we talk about him every week, makes it 10 wins in a row, I believe. So
wow.
Yeah, he won the hashtag Dirt Night. That's the thing where they run the GRC, the late models, and the sprint cars all Friday night on the kind of official iRacing broadcast. And yeah, he picks up number 10. So I think that's every single one they've had so far, and he just keeps knocking them off.
It's impressive, man. I mean, you think he would slip or wreck once? I mean, what about turn 1? I mean, everyone drives in there like a banshee. He never gets wrecked?
I feel like at this point, if I was in those races, I would want to be the last guy who causes him to lose a race because I wrecked him. So I feel like all those people racing with him have to know he's won every race so far. And I'll probably, I don't want to say too conservative, but a little more conservative around him, because you don't want to be the, hey, so-and-so wrecked Mitchell DeJong and ruins 10-win streak.
Yep. All right, Tony, what's next?
Oh, I'm going to skip this one here and leave it for you. But the next one, just pulling up the link there.
Alien, right?
Yeah. And you know it, it's just rolling really slow. But like I did take a look at this, and I'm just going to shoot from the hip a little bit. But this guy's road stats are absolutely
unbelievable,
insane. What is it, 90 something percent win rate? Like, who does that?
94.9% win rate. He has 439 road starts. He's won 417 of those starts. I've never seen numbers like this on the road side.
No, this is crazy. So he's turned a total of 5,738 laps, and he's led 5,525 of those laps.
And MX5 looks like what he's running. But yeah, so there's a story about this. Will, I mean, you alluded to it before. It has to do with the time attack. And guess what? Remember time attack, they pay money for winning certain things. Well, there's $1,000 online to win the time attack thing. And apparently this guy came in and blew the socks off these guys and took the top spot. And some of the talk on the forum is, well, wait a minute, something's weird about this because his incident count is really, really, really high. So how can that work?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's kind of a statistical anomaly. He obviously has, I mean, he's an alien in the MX-5, no doubt about that. But he hopped into the limited dirt lane model time attack and went to the top of the board. Now, Cody Byrus was the guy on top for quite a while, and when you look at his stats, he has a good number of laps under his belt, almost 500 laps across all 4 tracks. And this guy hops in, does 95 laps total, and goes to the top. But where it really stands out is the number of incidents he had. And there's a lot of discussion: is this guy cheating? What's going on? Because if you compare like the number of laps versus the number of incidents, not only are Matt Smith and Cody Byrus way above everybody else in incidents, it's just something doesn't add up. There's a lot of discussion: is there cheating going on? What's going on? How is this being caused? And the gentleman in third place, he posted up 90 laps, but only has 30 incident points. So we discussed, is cheating a thing in iRacing and how's it being done? And this is one of the topics that kind of caught my eye, is something's not adding up. There's a reason why they're causing these incidents.
Yeah, why do they have such a high incident count if they're the fast ones?
And one of the things I could think of during my run doing laps for this time attack series, the only time I ever received incidents is when you kind of dive it to the apex of the corner. But that's really only like a 0x if you scrape it. To get anything higher than a 0x, you're going to have to be slamming that wall. So I don't want to be the guy who's going like, hey, they're cheating. But there's definitely something that needs to be looked at there, because something doesn't add up.
Yeah, more to come for sure. There's a lot of talk. There's 4 pages here. I mean, one guy, like you said, was saying, hey, they're just running the wall. If they mess up at all, maybe they're spinning themselves out so they can start over or something along those lines. But at this point, there's really no answers about why do they have these abnormal amount of incidents with just a short amount of completed laps.
One of the things I was thinking of is maybe they're damaging the car in a way to get some kind of aerodynamic advantage. I know they recently added the rear spoiler to the limited late model, which definitely added some more rear grip. My lap times got better when they did that at all tracks except Williams Grove. That track actually kind of slowed me down a little bit, 'cause it's such a tight corner, having the rear end free up helps. So I don't know if they're getting up riding the fence somehow, or if they're intentionally damaging their car to get an advantage. But something's going on.
Guys, I've been looking at this guy's career stats, at least for road. He doesn't have hardly any incidents for road. That's why I'm kind of...
Well, we're talking about time attack is where the issue is.
Oh, I know, but I like I said, I just happened to click on his name to look at his career stats, and his average incidents per road.
Oh yeah, it's really low.
It's really low. Yeah, 2.11. So like, I don't know what's up with the time attack stuff. But
well, like Will said, he's doing it on purpose for some reason. But how is that benefiting?
Mm-hmm.
It must be, because he obviously doesn't wreck during the regular road races.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what really shines a spotlight on this is there's $1,000 to win. That's a big deal, and I mean, you could buy a brand new AccuForce wheel for almost that much. So somebody, I don't want to say he's cheating. He might just practice a lot, went out there, did some laps. Maybe he was hitting the inside wall, because I know to get a fast lap and you have to be really aggressive. But the number of laps versus the number of incidents, it just doesn't add up properly.
User disconnected from your channel.
Yeah, he's the real deal. I mean, I've actually Googled his name, and you can find a YouTube video that somebody posted of one of his laps going around a road course, and you can see the lap time, and he's the real deal. He is an alien, man.
Now, it's also got a column here that says resets. So if you look at his incidents, there are 220 incidents, but there's 217 resets. So Maybe that plays into it too, right?
Like you said, maybe he knows the lap's not good, so he immediately wrecks and resets.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, that could be it. But the guy below him is 672 incidents and only 71 resets. So
I think they're
yeah.
calling out both of them.
I know, and then but I'm just saying, like the guy below them in third is 30 incidents and 15 resets. I mean, everybody has quite a bit of resets here. So I mean, hell, the guy in eighth, he's got 118 incidents and 180 resets. So
But if you look at his number of laps, he has almost 600 laps. So he's
yeah,
basically getting an incident point every 5 laps, where this guy, he's getting, I mean, he has 95 laps with 220 incidence points. That's like he's smashing the car down every lap. He's going out there. I mean, it's the only thing that kind of makes sense.
Crazy. Well, hopefully we'll find out more about that. Next topic, let's talk about the podcast download count. Guys, we just hit 10K, 10,000 in 90 days. And that's how they track these podcasts, is they look at the rolling 90 days. So over the last 90 days, how many downloads do you do? And that's kind of how you determine how good or how big your podcast is. Well, guess what? We hit 10,000 finally. So that means 10,000 downloads every 90 days, or within a rolling 90-day period. The same period last year in 2017 at this time was only 5,000. So we've doubled it over 1 year. So incredible growth in the podcast over recent months.
Yeah, that's huge. Double the double the downloads. That's awesome.
And 10,000, that sounds like a lot. But when you look at the weekly numbers, I mean, our numbers are still somewhere between 400 to 600 regular listeners. But somehow that translates to 10,000. I haven't figured out the math on it, but...
Yeah, I also want to shout out everyone who watches on YouTube. We've gone up about 20% as far as subscriber goes since we started posting there again. And now that we're live streaming it, I just want to shout out everyone who talks in chat, and I think we're in for a really good year as far as the podcast goes.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for continuing to listen. We'll continue providing. A lot of people like it. So thank you to all the listeners. All right, Tony, what's next?
No, you caught me sleeping again.
2 tires and fuel was a really, really slow stop.
Yeah. What? I don't understand why.
It's broken. It has to be.
Yeah, because 4 tires and fuel is typically about 13.
So we're referring to the Daytona 500, and my strategy was to take 2 tires every time and alternate, and I'm getting 16-second stops, 17-second stops, and they're holding me after the fuel is done. The tires are done, the fuel's done, 1,000, 2 1,000, and then they let you go. And it's insane. In fact, I probably would have ran better in the 500 if that hadn't happened. And sure enough, I wasn't the only one who noticed. There was a forum post about this. Jason Martin indicated, hey, if you take 2 stops, 2 tires and full fuel, 14 to 15 seconds. If you take 4 tires with full fuel, it's only 13 to 15 seconds. But if you take 2 tires, full fuel, and tape, 16 plus seconds. And so that's kind of what I experienced. The guys who were taking 4 were getting out sooner than the guys who took 2.
I hope they get into look into that and get it fixed, because that really sucks. Because a lot of these races, your pit strategy is part of the fun. It's part of the game. I mean, and if you can't rely on being a shorter stop, if you're only taking 2 tires and half the gas, and what's the point? Why didn't everybody just take 4 tires and gas every time?
Now, I've been watching the forums to see if iRacing has acknowledged this bug yet, and they have not, from what I've seen. So as of now, I don't think they even know it's a problem. But I'm not worried about it because I'm done doing 2-tire stops as we go into Atlanta, Vegas, Phoenix, etc. The 4 tires is quicker, and so I'm okay if it doesn't get fixed at this point, as long as they fix it before the next restrictor plate.
Yeah, now Tyler Hudson was he did reply. He said he had some trouble with pit stops every time he'd pit from the lead, and it'd have a 16 to 19 second pit stop and lose a lot of spots. He said he's not sure what is going on there. So they are aware of it. So hopefully we'll get a fix for that soon then.
Yeah, hopefully he will fix that because it definitely felt broken. Okay, Will, what's next?
So it looks like we're gonna have some downtime on the iRacing service on Thursday, the 22nd. They're doing some maintenance, so no patch notes or anything posted yet, just the downtime.
Yep, that's NIS day, so make sure you update iRacing or give time to update before you jump into a race. All right, that takes us to final topic. I don't have a link because it's in a Facebook page that is private, but regardless, I got a screenshot of it where we were talking about the yellow line rules at Daytona, and there was a discussion: can you pass below the yellow line, yes or no? And Dwayne Cooper had posted, no, you can't. We follow NASCAR rules. I even posted the same thing. That's my understanding. You cannot. If you do, it's protestable. Well, none other than Nim Cross Jr., who is the admin at iRacing, he posted up the actual truth here. He says there is no yellow line rule in iRacing. However, if someone goes below the yellow line and returns to the track without care, causing a crash, they can be protested for intentional wrecking. Oh, wow, that's kind of news to me. I didn't know that. So I guess you can pass to gain position under the yellow as long as you don't wreck them.
I mean, it's sketchy though, especially at Daytona. I mean, just you drop off that banking, it really unsettles the car and can shoot you back up the track. It's not like Talladega where you have a bit more room to do that.
Yeah, and I've always treated that yellow line as a wall. You know, if you're against it, rest assured nobody's going to go under there. But now after seeing this, you know, maybe somebody's going to get some ideas. I don't know.
I hope not, because people have a hard enough time against the yellow line as it is.
I think it's kind of like one of those respect things. You know, hey, I don't want somebody to pass me below the yellow line. It's not right. I'm not going to pass somebody else. I'm kind of glad the fact that it doesn't do like an instant black flag is kind of cool, because like what's to stop me from brake checking somebody who has a run and then they pass me on the inside? They get penalized and not me. I feel like watching a lot of the NASCAR racing this week, I think there's some bad calls that were made about the yellow line. But I think it's just a respect thing. I think we all know like it's not safe to do. We shouldn't do it. I don't think too many things are going to change.
Yeah. Yeah, we probably have more respect than the actual NASCAR guys do. All right, let's get into the final topic of hardware. Will, you take it.
Yeah, so it looks like we had somebody post up the Elgato Stream Deck, and they were using it as a button box. I know Elgato makes some really, really nice stuff. I've known about the Stream Box for a little while. I've never once thought about using it as a button box, though.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. The way the website looks, they're using it as a stream box. So it's a one-button thing to start your Twitch stream or your YouTube Live or whatever stream. So if you're a broadcaster, I mean, what do you guys think? Is this something you need, or?
You know, I think it's a really cool item, because you could program like, hey, I'm like automatically post to Twitter, I'm going live, or automatically do this. I think it's a really, really good, awesome concept, and I don't know if I'd pay that much for a button box, but it is definitely a cool item.
Well, the other thing about it too is it's not just the deck that you need to buy with it. If you're going to buy the deck, you also need to buy the capture card that goes with it. You have to attach that directly to your motherboard. So you say, "Hey, I'm going to run Twitch." It goes through your capture card and makes everything kind of seamless. That way, you're not having like all these different programs, in your taskbar at the bottom. You can just kind of click one in and out of the other. It just makes streaming and editing everything kind of easier.
Have a quick launch.
Pretty much. Like, I've looked into it before, but because I was looking into possibly streaming a while back, but I never pulled the trigger on anything like this, because then you got to get the capture card. It's like $500 to get everything you need.
Wow, that's probably not worth it. But check it out if you're a streamer. It's called elgato.com, ELGATO. And that's final topic. Let's get to final thoughts. Chris Scales, what do you got?
I was ready for Atlanta. Glad to be out of Daytona and ran a few practice laps at Atlanta. Man, that place is slick. It's going to be a blast.
Very slick. Very slick. Well, congrats on the 500 win, man. And I hope you got a bunch more coming. David Flowers, what do you got?
I'm excited for Atlanta too. I was practicing while we were talking. Yeah, it's super slick. I'm really liking that 1.5 version set that we got.
User
It
entered
seems
your
to be
channel.
handling pretty well. And just so you know, Chris, I'm coming for you.
You better get to racing, man. I
User
gained a few
disconnected
hundred
from your channel.
iRating this week. You got to do some
I
catching
ain't
up.
worried about the iRate, man. We in the same division. As long as I beat you in the division standings, that's all I care about.
All right. Cool. Tony Groves, final thought.
Well, this week was pretty bittersweet, I guess, from the top of my proverbial mountain, and getting the second place finish to reckon out on lap 50. Gotta love Daytona, right? So on to Atlanta. I am loving it that NIS series is back going full time. This is great. The off season sucked. Other than that, I'm flirting with the idea to start streaming my races. So if anybody wants to see, how well I can crash, come check me out, and I will be posting how to do that using the iRacers Lounge Twitter. We're gonna try getting that rocking a little bit more as well. So stay tuned.
All right. Very good. Yeah, find us on Twitter. We got some volunteers that are going to start using that a little bit more. So we do have at iRacers Lounge. All right, William Gibson, final thought?
Not a whole lot here. I had a really good week. Even though I wrecked out Daytona, I ended up getting me a new cockpit to race in. I'm going to spend the next week or so fixing it up and getting all the parts I need to make it run right. I appreciate everybody that stops by and watches the YouTube channel we got going on here. We think we had, I want to shout out Verizian Warcraft for watching, as well as Corey Ryder. So they had some nice stuff to say about the podcast. And yeah,
right.
no, I'm excited for this upcoming season. I'm excited to get my new rig set up, and hopefully we can bring you guys some more great content.
Yeah. Obuto, right?
Yeah, I've been watching Craigslist for so long, and I got an amazing deal, and I basically got 2 rigs for half the price of one. So I'm fixing one up. They were a little beat up, but nothing that can't be fixed. And once I get the one fixed up, I'm gonna start fixing up the second one. Don't know what I'm gonna do with it just yet, but I'm excited. Not a great race week, but definitely got some good equipment.
All right, that's good. Josh Stiles, thanks for joining us and telling us about your almost win at the Daytona 500. What's your final thought?
My final thought is I keep replaying that 500 over and over and over in my head, but there's always next year. There's always next year, and if Chris is in that race, I will make sure to take him out.
Yeah,
I can't look forward to it.
Nice. Hey, Mike.
But seriously, it was a fun race, and thank you guys for having me on the show tonight.
All right. Yeah, I think Chris owes you a beer.
Yeah,
Several beers.
Hey, Mike, I also wanted to say, Will and I are also trying to do something. I don't know how it's going to necessarily work for the podcast, but he's my crew chief for this season, so he's doing the OBS for all the races that I'm a part of. So we're kind of going to do this, like, I guess, mini documentary series thing on how the season goes for both of us. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, Will, you're going to stream that either on the team page or the podcast page, or?
Yeah, I'll post it up to the team pages when I get those things posted. I'm mostly looking towards the Road to Pro as the main series because I don't unfortunately have the time to do both Road to Pro and NIS. But I think it'll be a fun journey. Myself and David working together.
All right. My final thought, boy, I almost felt like I was going to win at the Daytona 500. My confidence was high. I always made it towards the front and got to where I needed to be. And so, man, I just felt like I let one go. And I think those stupid pit stops, screwed me up where they were slow, and then people running over me. And then so anyway, I'm glad the week's over. I kind of disappointed I didn't get a win. But what was the win this week is how this team is coming together right now. We have a ton of new people. We've really upped our ranks. I think we're pretty much full. We have one more recruit or two in the pipeline. But after that, I think we're going to shut the door for a while. We got plenty of people. We had 10 people on our team in TeamSpeak for the Road to Pro, which is like a record. And so if everybody shows up, we're going to have like 15 or 20. So it's a pretty cool to have the team excited. Everybody is working on the sets. There's a lot of discussion in the Facebook Messenger about feedback on sets and which set works better, and excitement about the upcoming races. And it's very exciting to see the team really taking form again. So that's what's driving me. And with that,
User
we'll
in
see
your
ya.
channel timed out. User in your channel stopped recording.
All right, we're clear.